Yummy like a gummy bear.
It's the internet, you're busy. Let's do this for May 15th, 2024. For the next hour or so, let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, Sony has a warning for investors about PlayStation, and we might have an idea of the next Resident Evil remake from Capcom. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host of Game Mess Mornings. It's Jason Fanelli, everybody. Jason, how are you doing?
I am doing great on a Wednesday. Got a random DM about 10:30. Hey, I need you for the mess. And I got myself cleaned up, and here we are. Let's do the mess.
It's good to have reliable people in your life is what I'm feeling right now. It's good to have people you can rely on. Let's go.
Yeah, didn't have time to get dressed up. I'm already got people.
Yeah, that's on me, everybody. Don't get mad at Jason.
Costume, just end the show. I have it. It's back there. I just didn't want to upstage Jeff twice in a row.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Even better though, we don't need costumes. We're wearing the same shorts.
Yes, we are. Look at this. Cat shorts, baby. Showing some leg.
That's some meaty white meat right there. Let's go. All right. Yeah. Right. Welcome to Shorts Cam.
Emphasizing the mess of Game Mess today.
That's right. That's the real stuff. I got to go grab something. He's like, wait, are we wearing the same shorts? And yeah, it's dad shorts season. What do you want from us?
Yeah.
That's how you do it.
65 and all dads everywhere go to shorts for the rest of the year.
Let's go. Yeah. How you been, man?
Things are good. Busy, man. So much stuff happening all at once. Getting the Summer Games Fest stuff down and things happening between now and then. I was doing guides for Sandland over at IGN, which is... There's a panel at PAX East every year called the best 7 out of 10 games you've ever played. Yeah. And Sandland, I think, has found itself a nice little niche in there for me.
I'm glad to hear that. I definitely got 7 out of 10 vibes from the demo. Oh, I got worse than that for the demo, but I'm like, maybe there's just some stuff they're holding them back. I'm glad to hear that that's a game that people are finding some fun with.
Yeah, it's the vehicular combat is fun. I just feel like, A, there's not enough of it, and B, there's some weird, like, PS2 era open world jank where they say the same dialogue back and forth over and over again. They'll talk about a mission that you have beat like 5 missions ago when you go back to the area where it was, as if you haven't started it yet. Weird stuff like that. But I can forgive that because it's fun. Like I said, the vehicular combat's fun to play. Traveling around and finding different things is fun. You can definitely see, like, most of my Toriyama exposure before this was Dragon Ball, like most people. And there's definitely some, like, things where I'm like, oh, okay, that's what that acts like. And I definitely see connections there. It's cool. I would recommend it for someone who is curious. I don't think you're going to leave the game feeling worse about yourself, but it's also not going to make any Game of the Year lists. If that makes sense. Totally,
yeah. Unless that Game of the Year list is the best 7 out of 10s, which hey, who knows? Right. Maybe we end up doing something like that.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, it was. I think Bandai Namco is like often with their anime games right in that 7 out of 10 area. That's kind of their meaty part of the bell curve for them. Meaty. Well, that's the kind of show we're doing here today, everybody. Meaty men slapping meat over the internet. That's what we're doing. Let's explain what we do here. Other than that, most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you were watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All
Hello.
Right. We have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with Sony to reveal long-term vision this month. PlayStation described as essential. Those two separate ideas there. This is from Eddie McHugh at GameSpot. Sony has announced that it will share its long-term vision for the company overall this month, and this includes an update from the PlayStation division. The company said in a release that Sony Interactive Entertainment, which is the PlayStation unit of Sony Group, has an essential role to play in Sony Group's future. The fact that Sony said it will have an update to share this month has led some to believe there could be another PlayStation showcase in the works, but that is only unsubstantiated rumor for now. Another possibility is that Sony might conduct a business-focused briefing of some capacity where SIE's new joint CEOs could discuss their plans for the future. Now, Jason, we'll pause there and say That's probably what they're referring to here is something business focused. And yet, last year when they did that, they had a showcase on the same day. So it's probably some form of both is happening here. But I think what they were talking to, what they're actually saying when they're saying, hey, we're going to talk about the future of PlayStation, is that business group meeting. But it would help in that business group meeting if they had some stuff that they could talk about publicly at that point that they've announced. They kind of have to get on with the show a little bit, right? With PlayStation, they kind of have to get out there and start talking about some of these things. And like I've said before, I've heard of showcases happening this month. That hasn't changed. Now's the time, right?
Yeah, time is ripe, especially with all the tumult, for lack of a better word, the craziness that's going on with their main competitor. Now's the time to go in and be like, hey, this ship is steady, or at least pretend the ship is steady. We have this stuff coming out. Here's some things to look forward to. Here's some, some cool third-party stuff, perhaps I don't know if it's only coming to PlayStation anymore now that Square Enix has jumped ship on that. But yeah, I don't think these things are mutually exclusive for one another. I think you have the business meeting and then you have the showcase as well, and they kind of have to do that. And if they use the business meeting to focus on how this is going to impact the business side, and then you do the showcase to be the marketing side of the same sort of announcement, that makes the most sense to me. Now, is it going to be the end of this month or beginning of next month? Do they want to give themselves some distance from the Summer Game Fest, IGN Live, all that stuff? That's a possibility. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like right after Memorial Day, if that's when it's going to happen. And don't quote me on this. I'm not the insider. Jeff is.
Me neither.
But if I was going to book one for wrestling term book one, it would be like the Wednesday after Memorial Day, that 28th, 29th, somewhere in there.
Last week,
start the summer off with a bang, and then ride the wave.
That seems like a completely fair expectation. Again, I don't know the date. I haven't known the date. Try to be open about that. Just heard May. That's all I've heard. Heard some rumors about some games that'll be in there. Some stuff that's weird. I was telling you before. I'm like, well, how's the hell why they're going to do that? Still like afraid to even talk about that because it's so weird. But hey, they're going to have some big game announcements at that point. And really what they're going to have is, here's what Concord is, right? Here's like a good look at that game that's coming out later this year. And then it's like, okay, well, that's the follow-up to Helldivers 2 now. There's some more expectations behind there. Your best-selling game or your fastest-selling game ever with Helldivers 2. Let's see what the next live service game does. Probably not going to do that. But if they feel like, hey, there's some swagger in their step, maybe they can make a big splash with that game as well. We'll see. It's kind of difficult out there for games like that, other than Helldivers 2. I didn't put it in the rundown. Nexon's not happy with the finals, for example, and everyone was like, hey, we're all playing that game. That seemed like it was doing just fine. Now it's underperforming. Some other details that came out of this, the Sony financial report. We talked a lot about it on the Bombcast yesterday, but hey, they had one of their best. I think they had their best year ever at PlayStation in terms of the amount of money that they made. And at the same time, they've sold a ton of PlayStation 5s in the last quarter, 4.5 million. And that looks especially good when you compare it to the Xbox, where, and this is according to, I think, Daniel Ahmad over at, but she's like, by our estimates, that's 5 times as many PlayStation 5s shipped compared to Xbox. So when you're like looking at the console war, things are looking pretty good. But then there's another side to that which is why the console war stuff is so small-minded and so closed off, and why these companies don't listen to console war fanboys, because that doesn't matter. What Sony's telling their investors, and this is the warning I was alluding to at the top of the show, is, hey, we expect the pace of PlayStation 5 sales to top off and slow down. We're not expecting to sell more PS5s in future years than we have in past years. We are on the other side of this bell curve now, and I think that is why we see this company but kind of being like pretty like touchy about, hey, what's the future look like? Because we've been promising growth, and now the most obvious place for growth to come from is selling more PS5s than they sold PS4s. That no longer seems like it's on the table. So yeah, I think investors are probably like, oh, okay, so what's the plan? And Sony's, the plan seems to be, well, we're going to make more money from the people we have, and then we're going to take some stuff to PC more frequently. And that seems like a pretty decent strategy for the near future, right? How are you feeling about it?
Helldivers 2 is a perfect example, which
yes.
We'll get to that. And then that launched day and date on PC. They shot themselves in the foot there. There's the recovering from that. Even with that hurdle, fastest selling PlayStation game of all time, beat God of War. That's also in the notes too. Sorry if I spoiled your.
We're just going to be one big mess.
The game mess.
That's right.
But yeah, so I feel like bringing more of their games to PC, even closer to the PlayStation release date than they were, or than they have been, right? Maybe like Spider-Man was what, 6 months between the first one and second, maybe more than that. My brain is a sieve. But if this Helldivers 2 should show them that launching day and date on PC doesn't hurt them. If anything, it helps them, particularly in the live service situation. So if this Concord game, which we'll get to in a minute, they do the same thing, that you might see maybe not 12 million success, but more success than they would just PlayStation.
Yeah, and I think what will help here is if they move on hard from the positioning and the framing of the console war. If it's no longer about like we got to beat Xbox, like that seems well handled at this point. So Helldivers 2, what if you did just put that on Xbox? It doesn't seem like it would hurt you in any way, and it would just be beneficial. And obviously there's rumors out there that that was a conversation that's happening. Just a conversation though. And it's like, I was trying to think this out in my head. I can't see any way in which this would be a problem for PlayStation. The argument for getting a PlayStation would not be weakened because Xbox is saying, hey, we're putting all our games on Xbox, or many of our games on PlayStation, and it seems like that's just going to be even more games going forward. So I think just put Helldivers 2 on Xbox, the one game that would probably perform very well with that audience.
Yes, and I'm of the opinion right now that in this early testing the waters on the other platform that Xbox and potentially PlayStation are doing, live service is the least risk averse. It has the least risk associated to it, because if people start playing the game, then you build that online community and it's another continuous revenue stream, as opposed to a Hi-Fi Rush where people buy it once and it's done, right?
That's right.
So if you're going to experiment with the Xbox ecosystem, a live service game like this makes the most sense. And if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. That's the risk you took to begin with. But if it does work, the live service game to me is more fruitful in the long run. So Helldivers 2, as you said, perfect sense.
Yep.
The game became a viral hit, and the Xbox only people, all 5 of them, however many more are left, are like, well, we want to play this too. If they were to do that, I think it would be smart.
Yeah,
smart
and I think over at Sony they got to be wondering okay, we're kind of crushing in a lot of ways. So why is Xbox get to make more money from us with Sea of Thieves, and we're not able to do that with Helldivers 2 on their system? At a certain point, it's like we got to get past these old blinders that we have on and realize that the battlefield has shifted from who can get the most people to buy their console. And it's like, well, now they're expecting the PS5 to sell what it's going to sell. They aren't predicting some huge bump going forward by making big moves. They're like, nah, that stuff's pretty much on autopilot. So if that's the case, making some other moves to make sure these games can make as much money as possible seems to be completely fair. Now, how much money is actually in their hills when it comes to Xbox? I think for Helldivers 2, it's a significant sum. That's why I think we're having this conversation. But beyond that, I'm not expecting, God of War to be on Xbox. That's not happening. That's not what we're talking about here.
Not at all.
So yeah, this is also a part of a reorganization that's happened at Sony in terms of the leadership. After Jim Ryan left, they have the 2 new leaders. We talked about this a little bit on the Bombcast as well. But I feel pretty good about this move because it does the exact thing that I was worried about. It's like, okay, well, a company either has a money person in charge or they're the expert in charge. Like that was the thing with Boeing, is for a long time they had plane guys running that company, plane engineers, avionics experts, and they made really good products. And then they're like, well, now it's time to make as much money from these really great products as possible. So we're going to put the money people in charge, and look at them now. And it's like, well, Sony faces a similar thing. They're in a place where they've had a lot of success, but they have 2 problems. They could be making as much money from that success as possible, or they could be figuring out what the future of their games looks like, which is a problem that remains unsolved. So how do they approach this? Put 2 people in charge, the game guy in Herman Holst and the money guy in Nishino, I believe, who comes up from the business side of the company. I think this is a good approach overall. How do you feel about it?
100% agree. Some people may say too many cooks spoil the broth, right? Whatever. But in this case, you have 2 guys who have 2 different expertises, and they can collaborate with each other. And more importantly, sort of fill in gaps where the other one might be a little short. I'm more into the Holst hiring than I am the Nishino. Nothing against Nishino, but I think Holst being in
Definitely.
charge of the first party product that he's very, very familiar with, and Bungie, and also the video game TV and movie division. I love that too, because I feel like, I don't know why I get this vibe from him. I can't explain it, but I feel like he is better suited for the more creative decisions like that. And then you give Nishino the technology, products, third-party publisher relations, commercial ops, sales, platforms, all that, nitty-gritty, grindy number stuff. I think this is a very smart decision. Now, as we have seen with Xbox, a lot of people in charge, Phil and Sarah, and sometimes that gets a little complicated. You got somebody saying one thing that the other person might not say it. So as long as they stay collaborative, as long as they stay on the same page, I think this could be a good direction going forward. But it also kind of puts a highlight on how much Jim Ryan was responsible for.
Yeah.
Like that. No wonder that boy retired. He was overworked.
Yes, he was. That's what. So, among the many reasons that I think he retired, his stated reason was it was a lot of traveling. I wanted to live in London, but Sony's headquartered, PlayStation's headquartered in America now. Obviously, we have a lot of interest in Japan, so he was traveling too much and he didn't like that. And I think having to be responsible for this entire massive unit meant that he was probably traveling even more than we're imagining. And then on top of that, he got out while the game was good. This is the time where, hey, the PS5 is going to slowly step down in terms of its expected sales, and growth is going to stutter. He's had his success. He took his victory lap. Why not get out now and let someone else figure out these next round of problems? He, oversaw, a PS4, PS5 generation that did very well for Sony. So why sully that by having to deal with whatever's going to happen next? Last a little tidbit here from this part of the story. Helldivers 2 sold 12 million copies. I know we talked about that a little bit, but that does, it puts it ahead of God of War Ragnarok. This is the fastest selling PlayStation game in the amount of time that it was on the market. That is, even when it was happening, even when it was like everywhere, we saw the player numbers and we knew it was like this massive thing. It was just like, it didn't occur to me that's like, oh, well, Helldivers 2 is going to be bigger than anything else Sony's ever put out. Now, obviously, when you think about it, PlayStation and PC, that makes a big difference. But I think it really just does speak to how much you can't ignore Steam. You just can't, right?
That's the truth. And also, too, that the most powerful marketing in this industry continues to be word of mouth.
Yeah.
I imagine a lot of these players came from people who took the chance, played it, and was like, yep, you got to come with me.
Yeah, you don't want to miss out on what your friends are having fun with, right? That is so much more powerful than anything else.
Exactly. FOMO alone probably sold 1 million copies on this game, on PC and PlayStation combined. So I'm not surprised. I mean, if you have a fun multiplayer game, especially one that's meme worthy or social media worthy, dropping supplies on your friends' heads and weird stuff like that makes people laugh, that brings more people in and they want to try it, and all of a sudden they're hooked too. Again, it doesn't shock me in the least. I am not one of the 12 million. I haven't jumped in yet, but I have been loving what I've been seeing in the periphery, and eventually I'll dive in and see see what's going on with this game. But yeah, I'm not shocked about it. I mean, it is weird to read dethroning God of War by Helldivers. That is very weird to read, as you said. But that's how new IP are made, right? They got to stand out somehow, and Helldivers 2 did that.
Right. And this is, I mean, honestly, it's like kudos to everyone involved, including Jim Ryan, who like, hey, our next big initiative is going to be a live service, and they nailed it out of the gate here with this. Obviously, there's been some other like smaller live service stuff. I guess the Gran Turismo or something at one point. Whatever. The MLB games are always live service. Yeah, sure. I get that. Those do really well as well. But Helldivers 2 is like this thing where it's like, this is a statement game to that older audience. That, hey, maybe you can come play this and have some fun. And everyone went, yeah, hell yeah, this seems great.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Sony's new live service game, Concord, launches this year. This is from George Yang at GameSpot. One of Sony's live service games, Concord, will be released this year. The game is the debut launch, a game from Firewalk Studios, which Sony acquired last year. According to Sony's latest financial report, Sony said that it is looking forward to releasing more live service games, especially after the massive success of Helldivers 2, which sold 12 million copies across PS5 and PC in 12 weeks. The latest expansion for Destiny 2, called The Final Shape, is launching on June 4th, while Concord is just scheduled for later this year. So this is one where it's like, when they do have a showcase, this has got to be one of the bigger games there.
Yes.
Because they have a lot to talk about, right? They have to like make the new statement of, okay, Helldivers 2 is over here doing this. Here's like why this one also matters. Here's how it's different, and here's how it fits into your life. And I think already they'll bump up against people who'll be like, no, I'm already playing Helldivers 2. Like that's a reliable game. That's going to be our hobby. But they have. It's like that doesn't mean you can't or you shouldn't try. Like they have to try to make another hit and another hit. And so like they kind of can't like hold back because they have a success already. They have to like, this game is ready. Let's get it out there and see if we can replicate that. But it's going to be a tough nut to crack, right?
Yes, and I wonder too with the sci-fi setting that it has. We've only seen the one trailer, right? The one reveal trailer.
Right, but I just remember the cheeseburger jiggling. Yeah.
The jiggling cheeseburger.
Yeah, of course that's what I remember. Meat. Yeah,
just meat.
Yeah,
but like if this is more of a chill, low-key experience, I don't expect it to be like a cozy simulation or anything like that. But
no.
But if it's not as bombastic and in your face as Helldivers is, that might carve out its own little audience, right? Some people who can, explore space or fly through the universe at their own pace and explore kind of like a No Man's Sky sort of thing. I don't want it to be exactly like No Man's Sky because they're doing their own thing.
They're doing their thing.
If they can find another little niche in the space live service space, go for it. There is a way to. I'm full of them today, aren't I?
I'm loving it.
There is a way to pull more people who are just looking for something a little less frenetic, maybe like a little less frantic. Because Helldivers 2, every clip I see, it looks like people are just screaming, and it's a managed democracy and testosterone and all this other stuff. Some people might something a little more low key, so maybe Concord can fill that void. But we won't know till we see more, and that goes back to the showcase thing. This is the kind of game where like you start the presentation with another trailer for this and then say, stay tuned after for a 15-minute deep dive, or like come back next week for a 15-minute deep dive or something like that. So that way you address it, you say that it exists, you give a release date, more information here to look forward to, and then you move on to the rest of the showcase. That would make the most sense to me.
Yep. I just went back to the Concord teaser trailer. I'm just to read the little description, not going to describe the trailer to everybody. You can go watch that on your own time. But here's how they describe the game. Here's what we know about it. A new PvP multiplayer first-person shooter from Firewalk. And I want to say Firewalk Studios is like one of those studios that's like former Call of Duty people, things like that. So is that what we can expect from it? I mean, yeah, probably, but it's like, boy, okay, a first-person shooter competitive game. There are a lot of those. I get why that's what a company like looking to get into live services greenlighting. That makes sense. But it seems like the thing that you start describing of like, hey, a space exploration game. I hope there's like more to it than just here is a competitive round shooter where it's like, all right, we've shot each other. Now the round's over. Let's tally up our scores and that's it.
Right.
I hope there's a little bit more to it that can make it feel like it is a living, breathing game.
But stuff in between it, like
stuff in between.
Maybe let the player travel to that mission.
Exactly.
Against other people, or
so let me exist in this world a little bit, so it can justify becoming another hobby if that's really what they're going for here.
Exactly. But the more we talk about this now, and this is in your notes too, it's almost like Sony's going to be competing with
Yes.
themselves. Because we get a lot of Destiny 2 vibes in what we're talking about here.
Yeah,
so
100%.
How does Bungie feel about all this?
Bungie seems like they could have gone in there and shut this thing down if they wanted to, because they did that with factions there over at Naughty Dog. I think that this is a game that's like knew it was going into a world with Destiny, so they must have had a way to establish a separation there from the beginning. I bet they'll have something, but hey, we're going to find out soon enough. Point is, this game's out later this year. This is going to be one of PlayStation's major releases this year because they're not going to have a ton of other first-party releases. This, again, that Astrobot game, maybe some other surprises, but nothing massive. No. So, yeah. I'm interested to see how they position it, and I wonder if some of that confidence from Helldivers 2 will leak into this, and we'll see.
It could.
Yeah, it could. It could, and we're going to probably find out soon. PlayStation Portal is selling better than expected, says industry advisor who underestimated demand, according to himself. This is from Rachel Fidus at DualShockers. Released on November 15th, 2023, the PlayStation Portal initially received quite mixed reviews. Some loved it, while others didn't feel like there was a market for one. Coming in with a $200 price tag designed solely for remote play, it's easy to see why some PlayStation fans were skeptical about the gadget. a portable device, but not really one since you couldn't take it on out of your home. Well, you kind of can if you have to play it over whatever. The PS4 Portal wasn't really a match for the Steam Deck's ultra portability. However, it seems that the PlayStation Portal isn't doing so badly after all, as the executive director and video game industry advisor at Circana, Matt Piscatella, revealed, "It's done better than I expected it to." Last year, Hideaki Nishino, who is soon to be the CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment's Platform Business Group, said that the PlayStation Portal was never really intended to make money, but rather increase playtime on the PS5, designed to allow players availability to still play their favorite games while they couldn't on a TV or whatever. Yeah, I think the PlayStation Portal is one where it's like, I don't think it's probably doing just like exceptionally well compared to the expectations, but it seemed like people were into it, and it seemed like at the very least it's almost always sold out. It seems like I haven't looked recently, but that's what people tell me is this thing's always very frequently sold out. So I don't think they're making a ton of them. But yeah, the thing doing well. I think what this speaks to is people are looking for other ways to play their games. They have their games in the PlayStation ecosystem, and if you provide them a way to access those games that is more convenient to their lifestyle, they're going to jump on that. And really, this just speaks to the eventual real PlayStation handheld, right? That is where this all ends up.
Yeah, this is a stepping stone, I think. I think they saw the Switch, and they think they saw the reaction to the death of the Vita, and they realized that they needed to do something. So they developed this as like a stepping stone for the people who love PlayStation but don't want to love their games, love PlayStation but don't trust Steam Deck. This is like it's got the PlayStation name on it, so we're like, all right, we'll give this a shot. This is another thing I think that benefited from word of mouth, because seeing it looks ridiculous. Holding it, different story. And as you said, you can connect it to your phone through hotspots and play your PlayStation games wherever you want if you're out in the world or whatever. But I feel being able to play this like on my couch when the PlayStation is in the basement sounds awesome. Now, I don't own one. I've held one, but I don't own one. So I'm not 100%, the authority here. But just based on what I'm hearing from other people, once they get it in their hands, they're like, oh, okay,
yep, I get
this makes sense. This is something I could invest in. Now, if it will have maybe additional functionality later on, I don't know what that would be to make it a little bit better. Maybe you release a version with a 5G capability in it for people who want to be able to play it on the go and attach it to their own plan.
Sure.
I guess the hotspot does that too. I don't really know how you improve on it any more than it already is, because it's such a niche thing.
Yeah.
It's such a niche group of people. It's weird to say niche in PlayStation, but in this case it kind of is, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised that it's selling better. I think PlayStation people will buy anything PlayStation just to try it.
Yep, and especially if it's good. I think this is the rare case where it's like one of those things where this is a hard thing to buy. It's a nice thing to have. And I think most products we get are, oh, here's a list of reasons why I can't wait to buy it. And then you get it, and most of those things fall to the wayside, and you're like, well, it'd be better if it had this or that, and I'm not quite happy with it, but I have it now. And this thing's like, everyone who has it seems pretty happy to have owned it, and that's a hard thing to pull off. So I think you're right. Like the thing here is delivering on the promise in a much better way than it did initially, or that people expected it to, I should say. And now it's up to Sony to figure out how to carry that forward. I'll say I don't have one because the Steam Deck OLED is a really good way of replicating all these same functions, and I get it to do it on an OLED screen and something with like seemingly an even better battery life. So it's like I was able to talk myself out of it. But if Sony does come up with a dedicated handheld that sort of continues this lineage, probably not anytime soon, we're talking years out, I'll be there. I will be getting one because I have plenty of games on the PlayStation ecosystem. That would be great.
Yeah, I would probably be there too. I'm with you on that.
All right. Let's see here. Let's take a quick break. When we get back, a little bit more PlayStation news and what's happening with Resident Evil Remake right after this.
Scandalous.
All right, we are back, and as promised, let's just hit this last little thing. We talked about this one as well. PlayStation shipped almost 5 times as many Xbox Series X and S's as in Q1. The battle's over. It's what it feels like. I think everyone has sort of recognized that at these companies. They haven't recognized it on the little islands where they're still fighting, like World War II. On Twitter and stuff like that, where no one's gone and told them, hey, the battle's over. But whatever, let them have their fun, I guess I'll call it. But how do you like compared to last generation and compared to like early in this generation? How do you think this changes things when we're looking at things? It's like, okay, it does feel like everyone recognizes that this Xbox can't ever really do what it needs to do against this PlayStation in terms of hardware sales. Do you think that like changes the calculus of how the whole overall industry works, or is it going to be kind of business as usual?
I think it makes Xbox's approach make more sense when you hear 5 times as many consoles. Like before, it was just, we don't know how far they're behind, so we don't know like how valuable this is to them to get their games on PlayStation.
Right.
5 times more consoles puts a different context on that, I feel. As far as the overall, other than maybe Microsoft going fully third party at some point, which is, a 1% fringe chance, I think they're going to stick with a designated Xbox machine in some form or fashion for people. Maybe even just stick with like the S version and then do like a even closer to PC super powerful version for the real nerds like myself. I don't think that this will change a whole lot other than we can finally declare a winner and have the picture of the guy kissing the girl, but it's a dude kissing a PlayStation or something like that.
Wow, that's good.
I mean, it's not anything. It's something we knew, right?
Yep.
Like because they were acting like it. Now we know how bad they're getting crushed, and so it's bad.
Yeah, and people in chat point out Nintendo's the real winner. Of course, look at the profits. Correct. It's like there's no question there. 100%.
Because they not to get off on a tangent here, because they remembered what making games is all about. It's about having fun in the games and keeping people in them for enough time that they want to finish them and move on to the next one. The Switch is very much underpowered, and yet it's still selling gangbusters 7 years later. Tells you everything you need to know. And yes, there's the family-friendly bend. I get that too. But their games
no law against Sony and Microsoft trying to be family friendly.
No, not at all. And they have tried to
point,
but the people fighting the war on the island say no, only hardcore games for me.
Yeah.
Please. And they scream at anybody who wants more Peppa Pig on Xbox.
Nikki says they did actually pass that law, and then that being Nikki. Nikki, why do you always do this? Gotta stop just passing laws unilaterally.
Yeah, come on, man, help us out.
I was watching, Danny uploads those old videos that he saved from GameSpot, and they had the legendary 2004, it's a 20-year anniversary of the Nintendo show when it had when they showed the DS and Miyamoto comes out with the sword and all that stuff.
Kicking ass, taking names, classic.
Yes, kicking ass, taking names. It was quite a show, and it's 45 minutes. They just run through it, and they even take time to do like sales charts and Excel spreadsheets and shit. It's a hell of a show. But like in that show, I think either when they're talking about spreadsheets or whatever, when they're talking about sales, they're like, and this is like leading up to them announcing the Revolution and which turns into the Wii eventually. But they start talking about, and I think this is Iwata, saying, hey, we're already done chasing graphics. We are all like, things look about as good as we need them to look to make games that are appealing. We are done. 20 years ago, Jason, when I thought about it that way, I'm like, holy moly. In my head, it's like, Nintendo just started doing that. That's like a recent thing. And I was like, maybe it's like 5-10 years ago when graphics really stopped mattering. Nintendo knew 20 years ago, and they've been right ever goddamn since. And it's like, okay. And in the meantime, Xbox and PlayStation just didn't get the memo. And listen, not that they haven't had their own success on their own terms, selling games that look amazing, but Nintendo saw the writing on the wall of where they were headed, and they're like, what matters more is controlling scope so that we can understand where the profits are going to come from. If we sell enough of this game, it only costs this much to make, so we're going to make this much money. And the other companies were like, no, we're going to keep pushing up costs under the assumption that there will always be more growth to be found. And they've reached the wall now, and they are kind of like while Microsoft seems very boned and has to make all these huge changes, PlayStation's not like in some completely different boat. They are also having a similar issue at the same time. So 2 decades ago is the best time to plant a tree, right?
Yes, that is correct. And if it wasn't obvious in 2004 when Iwata said it, miss you every day, Satoru. It was in 2007 when Reggie stepped onto the Wii Fit board for the first time. Or in 2008 when good old Ravi Drums set us all home with Wii Music.
Oh yeah, Ravi.
Scratching our heads and wondering what the hell was going on in the Nintendo at the moment. But yeah, I mean, it's proven to be correct. Even we go back to 7 out of 10s. Even the 7 out of 10s for Nintendo are a ton of fun.
Million sellers.
And have million sellers. Princess Peach Showtime. No offense to that game. My daughter absolutely loves it, but it's a Nintendo equivalent of a 7 out of 10 game.
I think I'm expecting Endless Ocean to sell probably around 1 million copies, maybe 900,000.
Yeah.
Endless Ocean. What are we talking about?
We're scanning fish and we're having a great time.
Yeah, it's wild, and I just keep like in this moment, especially with corporate layoffs and corporate edicts and corporate acquisitions and corporate. And this is what's leading us to do more of these things like demo derbies, everybody, and playing these old games. It's like games used to be made by humans, and they still are made by humans, but corporations do everything they can to make it feel like it's not. And it was better when it was like people in a garage, people in a lake house in Shreveport, like id Software started out. Like it was just better. So
yeah, it's the truth.
We're just trying to survive all the things corporations are doing to kind of ruin games to their own ends. So yep. All right, so let's move on here. There's a rumor Resident Evil 1 is next in line for a Capcom remake. This is from Jonas Mackey at Game Reactor. After scoring hit after hit with their remakes, most people probably expected Capcom to continue the same pattern. But what game will come next? Many have guessed that it will be Resident Evil 5 or even Resident Evil Code Veronica, but maybe both are wrong. The Gamer, the website, cites several sources who all say in unison that Capcom is currently working on a remake of the very first game in the series from 1996, which actually already got a remake after only 6 years. But considering that even that remake is now 22 years old, holy God, an updated version doesn't seem unreasonable. If the information is correct, the remake is expected to premiere in 2026, given that the events from Microsoft and Sony, as well as the Summer Game Fest, is within this month, or within the next month. There's a decent chance that we may soon know more about what's next for the series. Yeah, I think we find out about Resident Evil 9. They probably don't announce Resident Evil, the next Resident Evil remake for quite some time. Yeah, I think this was always like, if I was like laying out odds, I think this one probably still would have had the best odds from me. It would have been right there with 5 for sure. But I'm not shocked by this if this is how it goes down. How about you?
It makes perfect sense because as this report points out, and it instantly puts more gray in my beard, the game remake is 22 goddamn years old.
Yep.
So get Resident Evil 1 in that mansion with the RE2 and RE4 coat of paint. Yes, absolutely. That make that game even scarier and weirder and crazier than it was before. I would not have guessed 5 just because there are so many people screaming for Code Veronica.
Oh, sure, yeah, but I think Code Veronica... Okay, do you think Code Veronica does happen, though?
I don't know if they go full remake or if they just do like how Square did Final Fantasy VII Remake, but Final Fantasy VIII Remastered, right?
Yep.
So they do something like that where they bring it back, but and even more so than them. I think they already did a remaster in the PS4 era. Did they not?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
But maybe it looks a little bit better. I don't know. Again, as you said, makes the most sense. And maybe you add, like you did with 4, you add a little more lore to Resident Evil 1 that relates to games that are out now, like how 4 had all the 8 inferences in it. Yep. That makes sense to me. If you're using these remakes to further the story too, that's just double dipping.
Right, and furthering the story is investment in the series. It gets more people caring more about what happens in the other games, and it increases the sales across the board, which is why I keep going back to EA giving up on Dead Space after just Dead Space 1 remake. Was short-sighted because it's like, that's the start, but people really start caring about this franchise once you're 2, 3, a side story, 4 or 5 games in, and then it just everything builds on itself and gets bigger and bigger and bigger at that point. Resident Evil is clear evidence of that. It's not special because it's Resident Evil, that's part of it, but it's special because how Capcom has treated Resident Evil, which is just like with these delicate white gloves of just presenting it as something that is so much fun and worth spending your time on. Yeah, so we talk about like Code Veronica. People in chat mentioned Code Veronica is the one that needs it the most. No one is saying the second part. This is what I'm going to say here is that, and that usually doesn't matter. Everyone gets that. Everyone in this chat understands that. Capcom doesn't, as a business, isn't making decisions based on what game do we need to upgrade the most, like what needs it the most, or like what is going to be the most beneficial to selling a video game. And Resident Evil 1 Remake, even though Resident Evil 1 Remake from the GameCube and has been updated for PC and all the other platforms, holds up really well and is still totally fun to this day. That has no bearing on this decision. It is what will this game sell, and it will sell like crazy. It will do very, very well.
Bonkers, bonkers stuff. And maybe Resident Evil 9, maybe this hints at Resident Evil 9 having something to do with going back to Raccoon City to connect all that lore.
Yes.
So gears are spinning just hearing this rumor, which I think is enough that if they were on the fence about it, now they're not.
Yep.
I think this makes the most sense. And then for after 1, so if you follow the order here, 9 is probably next.
Yep.
Then 1 Remake is the rumor. Then what's next? 10. You go back to the beginning, and then you're at 10. It's very smart. They seem to know what they're doing over there at Capcom recently, and I am on board.
Yep, and this will be the poll question, everybody, for tomorrow's show. So you'll get it tonight at the end of this show. Which Resident Evil game do you want remade the most? And the options I do have on there are going to be Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil 5, and Resident Evil Code Veronica. I think those are the right options, so people can vote on that. Someone in chat mentioned they would like a Revelations 3. I thought they were making like a new handheld Switch Resident Evil. That was always a rumor. It doesn't seem like that's panning out. So maybe they're waiting for the Switch too.
Could be.
All right. Ghost of Tsushima will be playable on Steam Deck, but there's a catch. This is from Darren Bontheus at GameSpot. Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut is officially slashing its way onto PC this month. And for anyone looking to experience the open world samurai game on Steam Deck, this guy, there's mostly good news. Sony's PC porting studio, Nixes, has confirmed that Ghost of Tsushima will be playable on Steam Deck and similar handheld gaming PCs, but only for the single-player campaign and its Iki Island expansion. That's fine. The Ghost of Tsushima Legends co-op multiplayer mode won't be playable on that system due to it requiring Windows to access PlayStation Network integrated features. This has led to a strange situation where the game has been listed as unsupported for Steam Deck. Nixes didn't clarify if the multiplayer mode would function on Steam Deck competitors like ROG Ally and MSI Claw. It should. Those use Windows, so it should just work, which do run Windows 11 operating systems. Okay, I'm fine with this. This is not the first case of this happening where an online multiplayer thing that has anti-cheat or whatever. That's probably what they're talking about here. Doesn't work because the anti-cheat is it runs on Windows, and if you try to run it through a compatibility layer, the anti-cheat's like someone's trying to cheat. We're shutting this down. This is why Destiny doesn't work, and a whole bunch of other online multiplayer games. Some studios have updated their anti-cheat to work with Linux and that compatibility layer, but not everyone's done it. And like Bungie has said, we're not going to do that. That is not even an option. Don't expect that ever. So I'm not like holding this against Sony, and I think this is perfectly acceptable. I'm glad that the game otherwise is going to run just fine on Steam Deck. It's a bummer that it has to say unsupported on there, but hey, a part of the game is unsupported, so that's only fair to give that full-on warning in the store. But I think it might hurt its sales a little bit. But overall, yeah, I'm excited about this. I've played a little bit of Ghost of Tsushima. I enjoyed what I played. I kind of just fell off at the time, and I've been waiting for this moment, Jason, to jump back into this game, and I'm very excited. It's like one of my most anticipated games right now.
I love Ghost of Tsushima.
That's all I ever hear about it.
Absolutely love it. And if the choice is be able to play it on Steam Deck, but in limited capacity, or not play it at all, I think everybody's choosing just play it, in limited capacity. You can't play the online. Now, I've never touched the online mode. I never went back.
Yeah, we're playing that on UPF, everybody, this week, right? So I'm gonna get a good experience of that this week. I'm looking forward to that too.
But the main story is fantastic, and Iki Island is also very, very good. They're both I'm so excited for you to play this finally on your Steam Deck. For me, this helped my authenticity. You don't have to do this. They have the different language options and filter options. I did not go full Kurosawa black and white. I didn't do that, but I did do Japanese voices with English subtitles.
Okay.
That really helped.
Yeah, I think I'll do that. I'll do that as well.
Absorbed into it a little more.
Yeah.
And it also made me pay attention because, like, if you're playing a game with English, if a cutscene starts, I have to turn around and I can look at my phone or whatever.
Always play with closed captions on for this reason, so that I have to pay attention to what they're saying.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely, I'm very excited for you to play that. And to get back to the story at hand, yeah, I mean, it does stink that they had to say unsupported because technically, as you said, part of the game is not functional. But if they can put a caveat in there,
Yeah.
in the bio of the game saying only single player and the expansion worked, only the multiplayer doesn't work, and people actually take the time to read, which is a coin flip, they might be able to get around that.
Yep. I think most people see the big warning, and that's as far as they go. And they're like, okay, well, I'm just not going to buy it. So that will happen. But oh well. That's what happens when you have this kind of issue on your PC game.
Correct. Yep.
All right. Assassin's Creed Shadows Shadows cover apparently leaks, revealing 2 possible heroes. This is from George Yang at GameSpot. The cover for Assassin's Creed Shadows seems to have leaked, and it looks like players will be able to assume the role of 2 heroes. The leaked cover features a black male samurai named Yasuke and a female shinobi named Naoe. And that's according to Insider Gaming. Yasuke was on a slave ship when it was attacked, and everyone else on it was killed. He was the lone survivor being rescued and brought into Japan. There, he took up learning the art of samurai under Nobunaga. While there weren't many details about Naoe, apparently this starts off as Yasuke's enemy. However, they eventually become allies in order to reunify Japan. The series has been known to include real-life historical figures. Some that will appear in Assassin's Creed Shadows are reportedly Naoe's father, who is Fujibayashi Nagato, as well as Oda Nobunaga, Akechi Mitsuhide, Hattori Hanzo, and Toyotomi Hideyoshi. A whole bunch more. There's a whole list of people who are going to be in this game. I'm getting to a point where I'm kind of starting to look forward to this one, where before I was like, man, Assassin's Creed doesn't register with me anymore until it's right in front of me. Mm-hmm. And now it's like, man, yeah, I always liked that story about the Black Samurai in Japan. And now this game fully going on and like embracing that and telling its own version of that tale, which is a real historical thing. Yeah, that sounds fantastic to me.
I remember playing Assassin's Creed 2 and saying that my number one time period that they would visit at some point in the future was feudal Japan. Mm-hmm. I was hoping, I didn't expect it to happen after Ghost of Tsushima kind of filled that niche for me. So maybe I'm not as excited for it as I would have been if they had launched it like instead of, Valhalla or something, or before Ghost of Tsushima. But yes, I am 100% on board. I do think Assassin's Creed Shadows, the name just isn't punching for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I agree with that. Feels like placeholder.
Yeah, Assassin's Creed Kage is Japanese for shadows, makes more sense.
They're worried everyone's going to call it Assassin's Creed Cage. And they're
like I did when I played Virtual Fighter as a kid. Yes,
of course,
I get it.
Yes.
But just like how Sephiroth stores the mass immune, I get it. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this. That trailer actually debuts in 10 minutes.
Okay. You know what? Maybe we'll do at the very end of the show. We'll see if we can tack that on here and we'll watch that.
Yeah, let's see it. But yeah, I love when it digs into as much as I love the present day like sci-fi stuff in Assassin's Creed, when it really digs into the actual historical people of the time. Like that's why Assassin's Creed 2 is so great to me. The Borgias are there.
Yes.
Da Vinci is there.
I love
that stuff.
Yes.
So if they can sort of build on Mirage, where it's not the open-ended, oh my God, there's so much to do with Valhalla, but also expand on the streamlined Mirage and find that Assassin's Creed 2 sweet spot, I'm in. Sign me up.
I'm sorry. Someone mentioned that Vim's Lair has been hit by Nintendo DMCA, and people think it could be a troll pretending to be Nintendo, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was Nintendo. Vim's Lair is where I've been getting my ROMs for quite some time now. It's a really handy, useful site. Very simple. They don't get in your way. Boy, this sucks. That really sucks. Damn. I love Vim's Lair. I hope this isn't true. I hope this it turns out to be something where it's just there's a mistake here and everything's back. But this is Nintendo in 2024. They've been doing this one after another, and it always felt like Vim's was too good to be true. And now here we are. All right.
Actually, pour one out for Vim's Lair.
Yes, please, please, please. That's whenever I say a ROM site that I won't mention. It's Vim's. So, or maybe this is their trick. Is like now that we're mentioning it here, Nintendo will be like, oh well, now we are paying attention. So in that case, my bad. Yoko Taro, Yosuke Saito, and Keiichi Okabe is working on a new project which could or could not be NIER. They're being kind of coy about it. This is from My Nintendo News. The latest issue of Weekly Famitsu has revealed that Square Enix executive officer and NIER series producer Yosuke Saito, NIER series director Yoko Taro, and series composer Keiichi Okabe are all working on a new project. It is not clear whether this is the long-awaited follow-up to the acclaimed NIER Automata, or I think it's Automata, or a spin-off or mobile-based game. Here is what they did say. I've been talking about wanting to do something with Yoko and Okabe for some time now. I'll have something a bit more put together to say in the not-so-distant future, so please stay tuned. It might be NIER, it might not be NIER, and then parentheses laughs. That's about all I could say for now. Former Capcom producer Hiroyuki Kobayashi said, I'm doing various things with the idea of creating something that does not yet exist. I can't devote my time to that fully, so most of it has been left to my staff, and it's turned into something quite interesting. I'm looking forward to the day that we can announce it. Yeah, this has got to be NIER, right?
Yeah, NIER Automata was 2017, 2018, something like that. So, and they did the mobile one, and they did the remake of the first one with the replicant and all the numbers. NIER is a blind spot for me, admittedly. But yeah, I feel like there's been enough time to develop the follow-up, or however you're going to follow Automata itself, whether it's a direct sequel or just something else in that world. I think NIER fans are ready to be depressed again.
Always.
It seems like what happens with NIER Automata fans. They play it, they get real depressed. Which, hey, if that helps you get into it, I'm not going to judge. You play how you want to play. But yeah, I think it's time. I think it's the especially now with games, the whole AAA being so expensive. I don't know how Yoko Taro's budget is, but if he can get his game in there when there's a bit of a lull at the moment, I think the time is right to strike. And yeah, I think there's a lot of people that would be very happy about this.
And we're coming off the conversation on the Bombcast yesterday where Square Enix had its financials, and it was saying, boy, we're doing a whole new thing, the reboot and awakening of Square Enix, as they're calling it, because we got to change everything up. And one of the things they said they were going to do is investing big time in their classic, or their IP library, is how they put it. It's like, okay, all right, that means, hey, okay, now time to do more Chrono Trigger. I get that. Okay, what's next after that? All right, maybe Parasite Eve, I guess. Okay. Oh, well, what about after that? There's not that much below that line. There's some things people will shout out for sure, but there's a really quick cliff, a really quick fall off. But NIER is up there if it's one of these games where it's like they weren't actively working on it. NIER's one, like, hey, it was only getting bigger and only getting more attention and becoming only more of a classic in many people's estimation. So keep investing in it, make another one, and build on that. Do the Resident Evil thing we were talking about a little bit ago. NIER seems well suited for that, and I hope they're able to pull that off.
Yeah, I agree.
Last thing here, really quick. Super Mario Land, Alleyway, and Baseball have all been added to Nintendo Switch Online. That's according to Jordan Midler of VGC, who mentioned that all of these are available now through the Game Boy app on Nintendo Switch Online, which you can get as part of like the $20 per year, 12-month subscription service. These are also all 3 Game Boy launch games is how this is going down. Alleyway, Baseball, and Super Mario Land. In Japan, they also got the Frog for Whom the Bell Tolls, which is from the team that eventually would go on to make Link's Awakening. Yeah, very cool. All right, that does it for the news. I got a poll question I'm going to bring up. While I get that set up, Jason, why don't you tell people where they can find you, what you have going on, and all that good stuff?
Yes, at Big Man Fanelli on the social medias. Come follow me for assorted ramblings and other nonsense. Writing news at GameSpot, reviews at MMORPG. Have a couple of things in the pipeline right now. One coming out early next week that I can't talk about yet, but I am very excited to do so. Looking forward to that. And then Summer Games Fest. I'll be all over the place. I understand there's a seat on a couch for me at some point. So
that's damn right.
We'll be doing that.
Hell yeah, we will.
Excited to go out there and see some games and do some things. So yeah, that's basically it. I'm doing some stuff. And who called me Mike earlier? Wait a second. What? I just got in the chat. I'm sorry I called you Mike earlier. That's damn it.
All white people look alike.
My voice is not that high. Sorry, guys. I love you.
Love you, Mike. Love you, Mike.
Good friend. But yeah, so Big Man Finley on the socials. Come follow me for Sorted Nonsense, and let's have some fun. Let's talk about games.
I love it. All right. Before we watch this Assassin's Creed trailer, and you know what, between you and me, I really hope that they mention that we can trust and follow the blade, but I'm skeptical. We'll see.
Yes. Nothing is true. Everything is permitted.
Yes. Just trust and follow the blade. Darn it. All right. Here is the poll question from 2 days ago on Monday. How do you think Nintendo will handle would handle, because we don't know if it's happening. How do you think Nintendo would handle a Breath of the Wild update on Switch 2? 18% says they think there will be no enhancements whatsoever. It will just be backward compatible. 14% think it'll be a free update with enhancements. So even fewer think if there's enhancements that they'll get it for free. 17% think it will be a paid update, around $10 that includes those enhancements. And then 51%, more than half of respondents of the 3,000 people that voted, 3.1 thousand, think it'll be enhancements that are exclusive to a Switch 2 re-release for what I think most people are thinking will be 70 American US human being dollars. What do you think?
The hopeful part of me says a paid update with enhancements.
That's as hopeful as we can get.
PS4, PS5.
I definitely want my money. I know that.
Yeah, like I don't mind giving them $10 for enhancements.
Sure.
But A, I need to finish, Tears of the Kingdom first. And B, I don't want to pay $70 for Breath of the Wild again. I did it. I paid $60 7 years ago. I don't need to pay $70. I will do it. But
of course.
I don't want to. Don't make me. The $10 upgrade is fine, thanks. Here's what it'll be. It'll be if you have a digital version, you can update for $10. But if you have the hard copy, sucks for you. Basically. Oh no. I saw that.
Yeah, I was keeping track. It popped off yesterday, huh?
It did. They did that roaring kitty
just tweet. That's all it took.
To Twitter, and everyone was like, "Oh no, we're back again."
Has it crashed? Yeah, I think it started crashing back down this morning in a big way.
They halted it like 6 times.
Oh yeah, like yes.
I will never understand stocks. Don't get them.
It's just like if you could bet on people's emotions is kind of all there is to it, which is a really weird thing. All right, let me see if I can frame up this trailer, which looks like it's about to premiere here any moment. In the meantime, what are you looking forward to in the next couple of weeks in terms of games?
So I'm very into multiverses. I really, really like that's coming back, and I'm really hoping that it's a very much improved, very much I still expect a lot of microtransaction nonsense because it is a free-to-play game. But depending on who they add to the roster and how improved that fighting system is, I really, really want to get in on that. Also, Wayfinder from Airship Syndicate. I don't know if you saw the story that dropped this morning that some guy wrote. They are taking out. They've taken the game off of Steam, and the next update called the Echoes update in June is bringing the game back as a pay once co-op RPG. Microtransactions are gone. All of the online requirement is gone. You can play it solo if you want. And it's one price. If you were a founder, if you bought it during early access, you continue your access. You don't lose it. People can, I think it's like $25, $30. I have to look at the price again to get in on it. And then early access ends with an Xbox version later this year, 1.0. When it comes to Xbox, it hits 1.0. And it's a offline potential, but online co-op RPG experience. And I think that is an interesting experiment to watch.
I'm gonna pay. I'll be paying attention to that. That sounds interesting.
If it works out,
right?
If it works out, it could be huge for them.
Right.
They were able to wrest the rights from Digital Extremes, bring it back completely in house, and now they're doing this. I think the headline alone, taking out microtransactions, will get a certain subset of people to at least look at it.
Right. Exactly.
And if you have it on PS4 and PS5, you can continue to play it in its current state, but this is important too. When this new update goes live, only PS5 will be supported from then on. PS4 drops.
Okay. Off. Interesting. Okay.
So that's an interesting caveat.
Yeah, I could see that to a certain extent, I suppose.
Yeah.
Because
it'll be PS5, Xbox, and PC.
And the people on PS4 who are still playing games, the reason they're doing that, it's like, well, I already have those games. I'm not going to be buying new things necessarily. I already have Fortnite. I already have all these things I'm playing there. That's why I'm not upgrading. Right. All right, we're getting the countdown here. We'll see if we can dial in the audio and everything, everybody. Real quick, I will be playing Daikatana on the site later today as part of Daika Grubba for Blight Club. So
say hi to hey, why is this name?
Superfly Johnson?
Yeah. Say hi to Romero for me. It seems
and
like
I'll say hi to John Romero and Superfly Johnson for you. Of course, you can rely on me for that. And then, expect this stuff for the rest of the week as normal. We'll be back with Game Mess mornings tomorrow as well. All right, let's see if we can watch this.
Let's see what's going on.
Let's see what's going on here. Yep. All right.
With the assassins in the Creed. Let's turn it up anyways.
I'm gonna turn down a little bit. Are you hearing it?
I have it loaded up for myself.
Great. Fantastic.
So I am good. I'm already a fan.
Yeah. All right, for audio listeners, it is hella Japanese and looks really cool, actually.
we have it. This is the woman.
Yep.
Our customs.
This is a cinematic trailer, but I mean, just establishing the setting looks really good.
Isn't there? Have they confirmed a forward?
Yes. It's happening the 10th of June.
Okay, so that's probably
they'll probably in this trailer saying see more gameplay on the 10th of June. Yep.
Is that our guy here? Ooh, okay.
Yep. Samurai burning a village.
Yep.
That's just what they do. That's their thing.
Who knows nothing of the sea? The ocean's filled with new ships.
There he is.
But they all come from the same river.
Yep.
There's the ship.
I just can't believe that DEI started in the 1800s. Can you?
Power.
Yeah.
Vengeance.
Oh man.
This is 1500s. Thank you, Dresh.
Yeah. It's sort of an underrated potential improvement here is the hand-to-hand combat. Like Assassin's Creed's always been. I mean, they've had like fighting and throwing and stuff like that, but this is like ninjutsu, like there could be some like kung fu, that's Chinese, but karate, that sort of martial arts sort of thing. That would be interesting.
That could be really cool. And I mean, obviously, sword gameplay will be a huge part of it. Like even then, we haven't had like just straight up like a katana sword in quite some time for some of these games.
Right.
All right. Yep. Now she's gonna do a little assassin stuff. It feels like.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, there he is.
Getting a note.
Oh. That's cool.
We must learn to trust.
There he is.
And follow the blade.
Now, I did learn that the reason that samurai shave their head is so that their samurai helmets will fit on properly. So I wonder how he's going to make that happen with the braids up top.
If he was a real person, uncomfortable.
Yes.
Can't imagine that would be fun.
All right. Crafty, I'll try to do that. I'll try to do that after the trailer. Okay, yeah, so they're going for a tone here. So now, like, for audio listeners, they are showing, like, some combat and some Assassin's Creed-y Assassin's Creed stuff. And Yosuke has a mace, and it's just beating the hell out of people while this music plays.
Love it.
That's fun, too. That's, like, a pretty good... It sets it apart from Ghost of Tsushima and stuff like that.
Oh, and now we're back to the first scene.
We are the shadows.
That serve the light.
Oh, and there's the Assassin's Creed theme, the light motif.
And her blade just shot out of her wrist, and she just grabbed it and stabbed him. November 15th.
No, hidden blade turned. November 15th. Yes, let's go. I'm in.
All right. That looks, someone chat said badass. I'm going to agree. I think they won me over with that. Again, cinematic trailer. We'll see if we can find out more. And look, they have one here who are Naoe and Yasuke. But hey, that is available for everyone to check out now. Real quick, someone wanted me to describe the story of Assassin's Creed in less than 500 words. The Ubisoft, a video game corporation, made a brain time machine that could send you back to your ancestors And they did this so they could mine people's ancestral DNA memory for ghosts, alien ghosts, who are gonna do stuff. And
they're trying to control the humanity through video games.
Right. Well, yes, of course. That goes without saying. That's every company that makes video games. And that's the Assassin's Creed story thus far, I believe. Oh, yeah. And progenitors. Right. The progenitor alien ghost race. Yes. All right.
One time, one of them talked directly to the player.
That's right. And Kristen Bell died. Sorry, spoilers, everybody. They didn't want to pay Kristen Bell anymore, so she had to fucking die. Jason Fanelli, thank you so much for spending today talking with me about video games and everything else, man. I really appreciate it.
Hey, anytime, pal. As I said, whenever you want it, let's talk games, buddy.
Love it, dude.
More meat.
All right. Until next time, everyone, you're the best audience in gaming, and I mean that. Go buy tickets to the live show. They're available now at the Bellwether in Los Angeles. Come hang out with us. It'll be worth it. I promise that much. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.
Dad Shorts, peace.
Dad Shorts!